3, 2, 1.
This is The Jungle, an up-close, unvarnished look inside leadership and business strategy. We wade into the real-world leaders' face and explore what they do to create a path forward, because that's what business is. Wild, exciting.
It's The Jungle.
3, 2, 1, and we are back in the jungle. I'm here by myself, but I've got two phenomenal guests, Jim Eckert and Cooper Frost. Jim, Cooper, how are you guys doing?
Doing well.
So very exciting podcast today. We've got Jim Eckert, who is the Robert S. Kaiser Professor of Sales, the OG of the WMU Sales program, the living legend himself. I was lucky to get him here on a podcast, so we're super excited to learn from Jim his secrets around all of his success for the sales program, producing phenomenal talent like Cooper Frost, who is a strategic account manager at Western Digital. And Jim, we just started this. We had this idea when we bumped into each other in the hallway. Is that right?
We've talked a couple times about the things we do special at the Haworth College of Business, LBS and Sales, and a bunch of other programs. We really do things differently, and we said we need to talk about that.
We need to talk about that. Yes. So, today's guest is really giving us a window onto what the Haworth College of Business is like in terms of our undergraduate education, and in two programs that I think we're both really fond of, LBS and Sales. And Jim and I ran into each other in the hallway. We said, and you said that you were just talking to Cooper Frost, and I'm like, Cooper, when did you graduate, by the way?
2020.
2020.
Oh, a month into the pandemic.
Time flies, right? And so we had this idea. Let's get Cooper on the podcast. Let's have Jim on the podcast. Let's talk sales. Let's talk LBS. Let's talk success. Let's talk Haworth College of Business. I think the best place to start, Cooper, is what did you just tell me? Where are you going?
I'm going to the jungle, quite literally. So I just won this award at Western Digital for being part of one of the top 50 outperforming sales reps in the company right now. Fortune 200 company.
That was like a humble brag, Jim. Did you hear that? He's just like top 50.
Yeah, out of 51.
Out of 51, I think.
Out of 51, yeah.
But what's the denominator in this case?
The denominator is probably 2,000 to 3,000 sales reps in the company.
Yeah, and then you were telling me you're going to the jungle, but where specifically?
Indonesia.
Where in Indonesia?
Bali.
Bali. That's a humble brag, Jim.
Yeah, and he's not bringing his favorite professor, which is either you or me. But
this way I didn't have to choose.
Neither of us get to go. So.
And are you staying in a hostel because you won this award, Cooper, in Bali, or where are you staying?
So for the award, it will be at the Four Seasons, but really at the hostel, and when I'm on my own time out there, I will be staying in a $9 hostel.
I thought we had to start the podcast there because what's the greatest hook is, how old are you, Cooper?
24.
So we have a 24-year-old who's, he's taking souls and he's crushing his job. And then he's going to Bali at the Four Seasons.
And it's a jungle.
And it's a jungle, which ties it all together.
Yeah, but you know what? He might be going to Bali, but as we talked earlier, and your listeners should know, what he's really doing is not just crushing his job, but crushing his life as a community member too.
He is. We're gonna dive into all of this today. So you're killing it in sales at a great company, and we talked a little bit on Sunday that you're doing some other great things for your community and being involved, making an impact, being a leader in other ways. Why don't you share about that?
Yeah, and so for anyone who knew me in college, they knew that I was extremely extroverted, involved in absolutely everything, and I quite literally had a cot in the Robert S. Kaiser Sales Lab that I would go and sleep in because I was the person in the office all the time. And when COVID hit and the world broke and I was forced to work remote, and it was my biggest fear. It went completely different. And I ended up coming through that experience and finding out that, I not only can work remote, but I like working remote and staying away, and there's a different balance, right? And so I now work on a team that's been remote for 2 decades plus now. But because of that, one of the things I learned is I still need that extroverted experience. I need that to create that sense of place that an office gives, to make the friendships, have the mentors, have the different opportunities and challenges that aren't strictly what you do in business. So naturally what I did, just like in college, I went and joined a bunch of different volunteer organizations around developing your community and making it a better place. So I'm the chair of the Economic Vitality, or basically the business development team for a Michigan Main Street organization, which is all about trying to help grow small businesses and provide jobs and place of living in the downtown area in Michigan. And it's actually one of the 2 self-funded grassroots organizations out of the state for Michigan Main Street organization. It's the one I volunteer with. And another organization along those lines, I also am the local conversation leader for Strong Towns, which is again taking that incremental approach to developing business and making it so you can help make your town a stronger place without necessarily breaking the bank or changing absolutely everything about who you are and what you are as a community.
I mean, it's a great vision for students, right, Jim? Like someone who comes through a program, they get a great job, they're giving back to their community. And did you say that you were sleeping on a cot in the sales lab? I thought that everyone says, "Oh, LBS is really hard as a major," and everything. You let them sleep in the sales lab, Jim?
I only gave him an uncomfortable cot too. So uncomfortable cot was key.
Okay.
I made Cooper sometimes sleep on the floor.
Okay.
No, actually, I didn't make him do that. He's a little bit insane in a wonderful way, and he is his father's child. I happen to know his father, and his father will sleep anywhere in any position for any length of time, and Cooper has returned that favor in his life. So, yeah, the kids in the program they're in the program, and they become not just students in the program, they become the program, they become the energy of it, they become what we accomplish as everything through them. And sometimes that involved ridiculous amounts of hours put in. Cooper was our president of our student organization, involved in about 7 other things. And the thing that was most amazing to watch him while he was in our sales lab, and I can tell you a little bit more about that later, but is he always had time for everyone else, and which of course was why he was sometimes sleeping on the cot, because he didn't get to his own stuff until after he had helped everyone else.
Yeah. No, it's so it's amazing to see, and it's so great to see all of this. I mean, it's what makes being a professor rewarding, right? Is you see great students doing great things, helping others.
I'm still a little stuck on the fact that I didn't get invited to Bally as his favorite professor from
He gets
undergrad.
a plus. I heard he gets a +1, Jim.
Yeah.
Did you get the invite?
I'm waiting. I'm going to start checking my mail every day now.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, guys.
So yeah, exactly. Well, so Cooper, why don't you step back for us and say you're doing all these great things. Let's talk about your experience in the sales program, mm-hmm. and how that prepared you for success that you're having now.
Okay. Yeah, so for the sales program, this is something that I absolutely love about the program is you're not going in and studying a textbook, right? I think the textbook was literally written by Dr. Eckert while he was on the beach, and using a laptop as a laptop. But the way that the sales program goes, you're going in and you're practicing sales. Your exams are actually going in and role playing as a professional sales rep. So if it's anything from selling 3M VHB tape to selling a CRM system or customer resource management system as an actual professional, to actual CEOs and actual business directors who are coming in and volunteering their time to in the capstone, so you get the practice of working in a board meeting and selling in a board meeting. And then also you have a litany of experiences selling and practice selling through the Robert S. Kaiser Sales Lab. And that was the program that built it. And from there I had, I think, 4 different internships that you went and extended that onto the real world where you're going in and trying to make those close those deals, and gave me the opportunity through SBMA, which was is a student organization all around developing people in sales professionally and helping them find and connect with employment in that field. And so through all that, I got to see the best jobs, the best companies, and try my hand in different types of sales and selling environments.
What's Jim like, honestly?
Direct, almost like he grew up in Buffalo.
Really? See, we have to confess over here at this table, though, that I have literally known Cooper since birth. So his dad is one of my best friends, and when Cooper was born, it was like a Seinfeld episode. We gotta go see the baby, and we drove up to Charlotte to see the baby, and have known him. His sister and my daughter have been really close friends, including lived together in college, etc. So we have a long relationship. The funniest part about the whole thing is I had no idea where he was going to go to college until I went to his graduation party, and he's like, I'm going to Western. I'm like, oh, really? I literally didn't know that. And I'm like, what are you going to study? He's like, sales. And his dad looks at me and goes, because, you're basically his second father, so he's following along. So I might be direct, but I also, we have a relationship beyond faculty and student that goes way back. But as a student, he was, along with many of his classmates, he was the model of success. And as you know, in our Haworth College Business, we have the SPURS program, which is really a way to get students involved the way they should be, even if they don't know what that path looks like. And it's a really unique program in the sense of what we did was we modeled what were the best students doing. Like, how were they doing those internships, the student organizations, the involvement, and then built a program around that so that the students who, maybe Cooper had an advantage of, he was stuck listening to me, not just as his professor, but as his, family friend. He knew how to go to college and be successful, and I'm not talking just his grades, which were fantastic, but the involvement, the energy he put into it. Other kids show up and they don't have that, and they're not sure what to do. The SPURS program at the Haworth College of Business is modeled after, like, we took all those best students and said, this is what they did. They didn't cure cancer. They did really smart things and got themselves ready to win at the next level. So just do that, and made it a requirement because, again, the students who maybe didn't have the coach or didn't have the background coming in are like, okay, I'll just play along, and suddenly you end up, I joke, producing an army of Coopers, which is a really great army, because they ended up doing more than they should have, or more than they would have, I should say, not more than they should have, more than they would have, and they had a guided tour of what it meant, what it means to make the right choices and be successful and really maximize your college experience.
And interestingly enough, like you mentioned the SPURS program, I was the first class from first year student all the way to senior to be a part of the SPURS program. And to me, Megan Miller, Sam McGrath, a lot of the people I graduated with, freshman year, it was a competition. Who could not only get what you needed to be done, but who could surpass what you needed to do for graduation the quickest and could rack up the most amount of points. It wasn't a requirement that's on the degree to us. It was who could outcome the other.
Oh, I think faculty love watching this kind of stuff, right?
Game on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, so Cooper as a freshman, we compete in a lot of sales competitions, and there's a lot of them, and sometimes there's just too many of them, and we're not going to organize a team. He organized a group to go down to Cleveland to compete with Quicken Loans, and basically got the kids organized, got the transportation organized, went, had a great event, and came back. And in fact, I met, who he mentioned, Sam McGrath, because I'd never met her, but she was one of the other freshmen who just decided to jump off the diving board right into the deep end. And they came back and had done very well, and people were later congratulating me because the sales program did so well. Like, I had nothing to do with it. These were amazing kids that made it happen.
Yeah, because as a first year student, you don't have the opportunity to take a sales class yet, and because that's not until your junior year. And so all I had done at that point was gotten the book from him and read the book, and we studied for 2 weeks and learned. And I remember from that competition, the reason why I didn't place top 3 is because the judge really didn't like that I didn't go for the close at the end of our sales call. I was like, what's closing? I don't know. I haven't gotten to that chapter yet.
That's how early he was. Yeah. So,
yeah.
But again, I use the phrase sometimes, we're not asking the students to cure cancer or come up with world peace solutions. There's a fairly easy model to follow, and in terms of, and I call it, as you know, our undergraduate degree is not a BA or a BS, it's a BBA, Bachelor's of Business Administration. And if you do the BBA right, which is the theme of our welcome session to the College of Business for the students, you took care of your academics, because what you're learning in LBS, what you're learning in sales matters. It's direct line to the next level, practical. You make your work experience count, as Cooper did with the different internships. How many internships did you get fired from?
Fired from?
Yeah, no, just kidding. He went, he tried everything, and I remember freshman year, he's walking around a career fair, and the companies didn't know what to do with him because they'd never hired freshmen for internships. So he was putting them on the spot, like, will you hire a freshman? They're like, I was sitting back just laughing, like, okay, that was fun. But make your work experience count, and then go further, like Cooper did with the student organizations, doing the study abroad program, involving himself, double majoring in essence in sales and LBS, and being active in both of them. It's a really, in some ways, simple model. You don't have to have a straight 4 points. You don't have to be president of the sales student organization. You don't have to be involved in 9 student organizations, and you don't have to have 4 internships. But if you start down that path and do well, the results are absolutely amazing when layered upon the actual education part of the Haworth College of Business. So it just makes me, you can tell I get excited about this stuff. I'm not even kind of a geek. I'm just flat out a geek.
Well, so let's talk a little bit more about that, and then let's pivot back to sales. So, what don't people understand about the Haworth College of Business in terms of the college's approach to education, our impact?
I've been involved with multiple schools, and I travel around a decent amount and interact with my colleagues, and I'll just flat out say we're the best undergraduate education in the United States for business. And there are programs as good as ours, but we are in that top tier. Why? Because what we teach and how we teach it is better. I always joke when the parents come through, I'm like, I'm going to give you the least sexy word you're going to hear on this tour, and that's curriculum. But what we teach and how we teach it is better, because what we teach, and as Cooper alluded to, we don't teach about sales, we teach people to sell. You don't teach people about leadership, you teach people to lead. That's a huge difference, and academia has always been built on teaching people about things. And so, I teach you about something, you regurgitate it on an exam or write a nice paper about it. And those are good projects, but that's what I did as an undergrad. I learned about marketing, and I did a little bit of stuff in my one senior capstone class, and that was it. I remember graduating thinking, wait, I'm almost like smart enough that I could start doing this stuff now, and then now they're kicking me out. We go way in advance of that. You're a second year or a third year student, you're already doing. In fact, we joke sometimes as Cooper, he did it before he even knew what he was doing, because that gave him perspective when he came back to start learning it more formally. So it's not like we don't teach you about things. We present you in the sales program with a proven methodology of sales success. His being top 50 out of 2,000 might be one of the many indicators that works. But we then put you on the spot and put you in the sales lab and say, okay, now show me you can do it. Not regurgitate it on an exam, but show me. And I think that's across the board. We've got a new digital marketing program in the College of Business, and Scott Crowley, our professor there, has, he's already literally written the book nationally for teaching that topic. This is the way we approach things, and it's not just our marketing department, our finance group, our accounting group. The energy between students and faculty and this idea of we're going to get you ready for the next level so that you can literally hit the ground running. And literally, Cooper's first sales meeting with Western Digital wasn't his first sales meeting. It was one of many meetings he had already done. And he was clicking along as, if you take me coming out of undergrad, as I like to joke with my students, I'm teaching you advanced questioning technique. I literally didn't know I was supposed to ask questions at starting my sales job, because I covered sales for 20 minutes in marketing principles and then became a salesperson. And I was abysmal at it. I mean, I tell a funny story to my students about my first closing. It's not actually as funny as when it actually happened in the funny, like I'm going to go cry in my car mode. And I practically did. And it was unsuccessful, and it was hilarious. I wish I had it on video so I could show them, because they see me and they're like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. I'm like, I had no idea what I was doing. And my challenge there is I refuse to allow students to graduate from the program and end up in that position. And I think that's what the faculty does. And the engagement level at the Haworth colleges between the faculty and students, I've never seen that. And you know, I have a daughter in college, a different university, nowhere close to that engagement. I have friends at other places, nowhere near that engagement. And you even went to a little college called Kalamazoo College that I lived a half a block from for 17 years. I think we're even more engaged than they are. And it's a first name, we care, we're involved, we're engaged. We're still taskmasters. I made Cooper bust his butt for his degree, and he did. But at the same time, it's just, it's really hard to explain. It doesn't work well on a billboard. So, you know, our university marketing is always, you know, throwing the dance majors on the billboard. They're way better looking than the sales majors. They're doing something physical. It's cool.
Not Cooper, though.
Not Cooper, no.
Cooper, though.
I got face for radio.
Yeah, and you know, it makes sense. It's a little hard to visualize and create the visualization of what we do in the college. You know, how do you capture on a billboard the energy between the faculty and the students to accomplish something?
What is that? What is your experience of that, Cooper?
Of advertising
of being in the Haworth College of Business. Is what Jim said to you your experience?
Yeah, so I remember the fall like, tour and welcome as a first year student, like, and they when I was recruited, they said that by the time you make it to your spring semester, the walk between the freshman dorms and the business college, you're gonna be said hello to over 10 times. It's a 3-minute walk. Hello to by name. And when you walk through the halls, if you're doing it right, you'll see at least one person every hall, and it's like you're getting said hello to, high five, things like that every 30 seconds. I said, there's no freaking way. I'm going to a D1 college. I grew up in the shadow of East Lansing, where to there you're just a number, right? And then come through by the second semester of my freshman year, I had a sales team that I'd assembled to go compete. I had all these friends, and I think I counted it one day in January as 14 people said hi to me by name on that walk. And then walking through it, and so on the student level, everyone is engaged. And then when you have people engaged on that level, and you can keep moving up, and of course, not everyone's this way. We're big enough where you can get away from not being that way. I'm an extrovert, so I made sure I got to talk to everyone. And Western gives you that opportunity to then build the relationships with the professors, the faculty, and keep that going and enduring, where you get to do cool things like coming and doing a podcast 2 years later after graduating.
And where were you Friday night, Cooper?
I was a SBMA or SBM alumni event in a Oktoberfest bar in Grand Rapids, because our program has a amazing study abroad in Germany, so it's such a German theme. We all love German stuff, and the amount of people I saw there, and that was what seemed to be a very last-minute decision on Dr. Eckert to put that together. And the Facebook posts of everyone was like, when are you coming to Denver? When are you coming to Detroit? Can you drive across the state? I want to do this, because we're everywhere.
Yeah, it's been a joy of my job is interconnecting the students, the faculty, the alumni, and the employers, and those are all pillars of the program, and all of them deserve and need attention to have a healthy program. But the funnest part of the job is when I interconnect those. So we had alumni from 10, 15 years ago, and we had alumni who graduated the previous spring, and they were all hanging out. We were enjoying ourselves. I happened to be in Grand Rapids for a family situation on Saturday, so I said to my wife, let's just grab a hotel the night before, and I'll throw an alumni event together. And we do this all the time. My poor wife has been hung out with my alumni while we've been on vacation in Florida. My daughter has been to more alumni events than some alumni, because we go skiing out west and we throw a Denver event together. But it's always this sense of community, like we're still in this together, even with people who graduated. The really fun part was the oldest alumni there walked in with one of the newer alumni that he had hired in the same industry. and kept that chain going. It started the Friday night event. I couldn't help but smiling right off the bat when the first two people arrived, and it was like a 1-2 punch.
No, so when we started, so you said 22 years, Jim.
I started at Western in the fall of 2000.
Yeah, so 22 years. So we started LBS, and I won't forget the conversation. We started that 3 years ago, and we sat with you at the Roadhouse, and my partner Derek and I, as we're trying to envision how do we build a great program, we're like, who's done this really well? It's Jim Eckert. And you said that you judge your days when you lay your head on the pillow at night about if you did something good for your program.
It's funny. It's a really simple and yet really challenging challenge I give myself every day is, even if it was something small, if I made one LinkedIn connection between a student and an alumni, it's kind of funny. I considered I had a good day. And because if you just do one of those things every day, it's amazing what you can build. And, obviously I do a lot of other stuff. I teach classes, I have grading, I still do occasional research.
You're an avid cyclist as well, is that right?
I try to make the wheels go around. Not quite as fitness oriented as you and Derek, but I try to do it.
I'm at the mall walking phase, Jim.
Phase.
I'm now,
Are you sure?
I'm now 40, so I walk the mall when I can. Get the white New Balance
stop
out.
at the Cinnabons in between.
Yes.
I can see that. No, it's a privilege and a responsibility to run the programs we run, because we've got to bring the energy. But it's about the other people that really make it happen. It's the Coopers, and it's the Brett, who is the alumni who hired John from Friday night. It's all those people recognizing, as I often joke with my students when they graduate, you're not leaving the sales program. You're just changing category of membership. You're going from student to alumni. And hopefully you'll also add in employer, in the sense of you'll come back and recruit, like, oh, let's see, Cooper will be here tonight at the Sales Career Night representing Western Digital. So he'll go from the kid walking up to the booth looking 12 as a freshman to now looking 14 with the beard as the employer representative. It's funny how happy I am when I see that stuff.
That's good. No, it's a really fun thing to see. Cooper, you decided to do LBS in addition of all of the other things you're doing.
Yeah.
Walk us through what led you to make that decision? What was your experience? What was the outcome?
Yeah, and actually that decision was I went and worked for one of Dan Gilbert's venture capital firm, Rock Ventures, and that was the internship I'd gotten my sophomore year. And with that, I was in an office in a company called Fathead that we were helping overhaul and change how their business was. I was one of, I think, 3 interns there. The other 2 interns were both management interns from the one I remember is Texas A&M, which is a massive, massive management program. And he had all these analytical skills and being able to read through and go through a PowerPoint that I honestly had not felt and had not done. No, I hadn't started the actual SBM program yet, but I had decided, like, I saw this and was just enamored in looking at it. It's like, I could do more. I could be better with it, because, the SBM program's got this 1-2 punch. This is how you go through and sell. This is, the situation. This is where you do it. It's, as Dr. Eckert was saying earlier, it's not rocket science. You're going through, and this is what you have to do. And then, you layer in like negotiation, which is, thinking outside the box and how to go through these conversations. But I felt like when I was looking at those management majors, like, I felt that WMU was missing that, and that was like analysis I'd never seen before. And I came back to Western, and that next fall just kind of like unsatisfied. But little did I know that there's 2 crazy guys building this whole new program out of our management department that summer, and had just gotten it off the ground. That was all about the analysis, all about the double layering. And even when it is, I thought Western was lacking something, the Haworth College of Business was building it in a way where specifically to LBS, you can only take it as a second major. Because what was interesting is talking to those same management interns at Rock Ventures, what they felt like they're lacking, they had no idea to be comfortable with communicating. They were terrified of getting on the phones and walking through with the customer. And so like that is where I shined above. And coming back and having the opportunity to do more, and I hopped on board, and like I had to work through it with my guidance counselor. It's like, how can I make this work and still be able to graduate? But I packed through a second major within 2 years, and I did it not really on a whim, but seeing the need that in my own degree, and Western had something there, and it was such an impactful program. So that's how I found LBS.
And what was you hit LBS and at a really interesting time. One, because we were starting, and two, we hit the pandemic partway through your semester, the project that we're doing on. Maybe walk us through a little bit about what your experience was, what your takeaways were, how is it impacting your current job?
Yeah, so for 4010, or the one as a leader in LBS, it was amazing because we're with Rhino Media. We're on a video production company that's from Kalamazoo, all about Kalamazoo. And being able to work with them and learning all these new skill sets and being able to consult, and they had started that project off. It's like, yeah, we want to consult. We want to figure out what direction we should be, how to make more out of our business, right? Because how to make more revenue, because we're hitting our limits and we want to increase our profitability. That was great. And we had our ideas, we had our team together, and, everything about LBS. And if you haven't heard this, welcome. LBS is a competition. All the teams where the students are competing against each other. And we had that competitive mindset. And then the world completely changed. Like Rhino's now going, we don't have time for you guys. We need to figure out how to stay in business and not lay people off or do it at the barest minimum, because that's something they take very seriously. And then my team members, like some of them, they're getting laid off. They're going through serious health concerns. One of them didn't even have a computer. He relied on the school for a PC computer to do everything. And so I found myself literally going home, finding my old broken computer, fixing it and giving it to him just so he could operate in school in general, not just in LBS, but in general. And that was such a leadership change and an experience where I could be a leader. And then taking that experience where you have Doug and Derek guiding you through this, and we had our mentors already at that point guiding you through this. I then replicated that because at the time I was the president of SBMA. The entire university is shutting down. The career centers are shutting down, and then everyone's worried about the employment. One of the things that WMU loves to boast, or really the Haworth College Business, is that we have top-tier employment rates. Dr. Eckert, what's the employment rate of SPM right now?
Unfortunately, only 99% of people have a career or other plans, such as graduate school or the military, within 3 months of graduation. So we're kind of a disappointing result there. We're tracking down that 1% and figuring out what to do with them now. And that's been our placement rate for basically the duration of the program.
And SBMA, the student organization I ran, was a large part of that. And we took that job very seriously. We went and were contacting all these employers that were still struggling to find people as their worlds changed, because yes, some employers were having to lay others off, but some companies had to build up their teams. We found them. We created a job board. We created pivoting to online Zoom meetings before corporations or university knew how to do it. And that was the pivot.
Doug, I got to jump in. I'm the advisor of the sales student organization. I'm just the advisor. I step back and let the students run it. They pivoted in the pandemic better than the vast majority of businesses I interacted with by a long shot. I was like, really, all of you should just get jobs because you read and reacted to the proper situation better than most corporations. And it was almost embarrassing sometimes to interact with some of the businesses who still couldn't spell Zoom, let alone conduct an interaction. And here's a group of students who nailed it. And I was just it was really fun to watch. And
a large part of that was, and to LBS's credit, because LBS was making that pivot. We were all doing that. And it was that attitude. It's like the world didn't just stop, it just changed. We keep going. And the project was ended up being, creating videos about the different parts of Kalamazoo. And I think we did something on WMU, my team.
Your team, and I think we pivoted all of you guys to make videos, right?
Yeah.
Because we project was no longer relevant. So we made, I think, 35 videos for 20 different companies to kind of give them some social media. So students, we just threw them at figure out a video and just threw them into the deep end with it. Next thing you know, you guys made a video for Western.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's gotten the most views out of any video out of the admissions office. I saw Jake Meyer's face pop up, and Tyler Ernst's face pop up, and I'm like, oh my God, that video is still out there, and it's still getting seen and used.
Funny, we still didn't win, but
But we did
competitive, or anything.
not that he's competitive, but we did as a class make the Friday night Wood TV8 news in Grand Rapids, which is pretty cool.
We did huge things, and what was really interesting, and again on the adversity of my team there was only 2 of us that had computers that could run the video editing software. Neither of us going into that knew how to do video editing. That's a skill I now have. And I no longer have a computer that can run video editing because halfway through it, my computer died out. And here I am solely reliant on one team member, Tyler Ernst, shocker, who put in an exorbitant amount of hours over everybody else because he simply had the computer that could do it and had the drive to do it. And so then it was, how do we keep Tyler fueling? How do we make him as efficient as possible? And getting others involved so they can still be a part of the team. And it was just another interesting challenge of those times. But in all of that, I then got bored and decided to take over another student organization that last month that is very obvious their leadership team had just checked out and were done. And this organization was going to die. And so I had taken that over because I was just a member of that one to help them transition, and took Jake Myers and put him on the path for presidency of that organization because you look at the university, it's going to be, you cycle through your students every 4 years. So I found the youngest go-getter student that I knew, put Jake on it, and it's you need to lead this through, and got him a board of mentors, including Tyler, on this organization. And I'm proud to see that organization is still kicking it and doing well. And that was just in the last month of college, and boom, there I was off to the next thing.
So you've said, the thing that I love hearing all these names, Megan Miller, one of our first LBS students, Sam McGrath, LBS student, Jake Myers, LBS student, Tyler Ernst, LBS student, food marketing, 2 sales kids, they're coming, a finance kid, and Jake. So let's wrap up here, Tyler. What would be, or Cooper? You guys, just dynamite, both of you. What would be your recommendation for students if they're in the sales program in terms of LBS? What would be your recommendation there?
My recommendation is get involved, and this is to any student, any person. Get involved in organizations. When you can be doing more things, experiencing more of anything, you may look at yourself as the little young freshman. There's a ton of people better than me to go represent WMU at that quick and loan sales competition. I don't even know how to sell. But coming out of that, all of a sudden, I knew how to sell. I had experience, and I wasn't the best at it, but I had started it. And therefore, I was leaps and bounds ahead of everyone. And this is something that the sooner you can learn this in college, that as a freshman, no one knows what they're doing. They're all on the same page. So if you're incrementally further ahead of everybody else, those are the opportunities that are going to keep snowballing. The prime example of this is, Sam McGrath, Tyler Ernst, they both just took off. And even when I thought I was doing great, Sam McGrath was already light years ahead of me just because she got a little bit ahead of me in the beginning. And that continues over to life. Being able to do all these different organizations I volunteer with, I only named 2. There's 7 that I volunteer with them, doing all these great things that, balance my life out with work, but also it's a yin and yang and giving back to work and taking from work, because I'm able to take ideas and test them out in these small little organizations and take that great idea and then bring it to Western Digital on a much larger scale and make a recommendation to one of my customers and my partners that I tested with a volunteer organization that said, sure, we'll give it a shot. And it just keeps on going. So get involved with 5 organizations. And I think the university tells you 3, make it 5, because that's the best thing you can do.
So we talked a little bit about, Jim, I'll give you the last question here. So you mentioned you don't teach about, you teach to do, right? And we are all about learning by doing over here in LBS as well, and exposing people to experiences sometimes that they're not prepared for, because you're doing a lot of stuff, I bet, Cooper, that you've never done before all the time. And so how do you get comfortable with the kind of the uncomfortable? Jim, last question for you is, and then we'll go rapid fire questions, is how does that change your approach as a professor in terms of your role? Are you coaching more because you're now helping them do, or how do you view your style in terms of that methodology?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I came here early to your facility and did a class with my Germany. I teach at Universität Paderborn and master's students, and I said, I'm going to feel like a really weird professor to you because I'm not here to pontificate about what I know. I'm here to coach you to gain success, and I'll put all the resources together for you. So as you also know, there's a thing in academia that people like to talk about, assurance of learning, and I've never been a big fan of that term because, first of all, it implies that I can somehow force someone to learn. But what I can do, and what I take very seriously, is I can put resources and experiences together that if you even have 1/10 the energy that Cooper has, you're going to learn something, because my job is not in some ways to teach you per se, it's to give you the opportunity to learn. And so I do put a lot of resources together. Anybody who's taken one of my classes probably complains about the depth of my e-learning site and the coaching videos and the other resources. But then just as important, I put experiences together for the students so that they get to try this stuff out. Because as I like to point out to them, wouldn't you like to try this out when the biggest consequence is the difference between a A or a B and a C in one college course? Or would you like to try that out when the consequences are I will or will not remain employed, or I will or will not make the top 50 and get to go to Bali? And so, yeah, I'm a weird professor, and I always have been, in the sense of, you talk about the traditional roles, and people look at me and they're like, well, sometimes the university doesn't even know what to do with me, because like when I fill out the activity reports, almost everything I do are not in the preset categories. I use the other category more than anything else.
I'll blame all of the weirdness then that we have in LBS on you, Jim, because you gave us all of our advice to start.
I think you and Derek brought quite a bit of weirdness with you. So I think
Learn from the best. Learn from the best. Okay, so we're going to wrap up here with rapid fire questions. There's there's no explanation, justification. You're just giving me your answer. You ready?
I hope so.
I'm gonna go. We'll go. Jim, you start on this one, and then we'll reverse order who goes first. All right, Jim. Favorite leader?
Don't have one.
That's not an answer.
Yes, it is.
No.
It depends on my mood. It depends on
what is it today?
What is it today? Kelly O'Reilly.
I think I don't even remember his name, but it's the CEO of Salesforce is what got me into it.
Okay. Cooper, courage or compassion?
Courage.
Oh, you're killing me here. I'm a professor. I like complex things.
No.
In today's world right now, I'll go with compassion.
Jim, speed or accuracy?
Oh, you're really going to hate this answer. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. Do both.
Cooper?
Depends on the scenario.
What are you thinking right now on average?
Speed is what I'm needing to go into.
Okay. Cooper, great ideas or great execution?
Great ideas.
Definitely ideas.
Jim, a word to describe your leadership style?
It's a couple words, but give them resources and get the heck out of the way.
Energy.
Cooper, are you a night owl or early bird?
Early bird.
Night owl.
Jim, your favorite SBM sales tactic framework?
All right, this will sound, because it's cornily named on purpose because we have fun with it. The cash model. Confirm, ask, shut up, and handle.
Okay.
Edge.
Define it for me, please. Can you?
Endorse.
Let's see. I can go
shoot.
back and change grades here.
Okay. Get that. Endorse. Details. Gratitude. And then extend to the next meeting. And the extend's the one that I use every single time.
Wow. Okay. Cooper, your favorite sales role play?
My favorite sales role play. Kelly O'Reilly with the VHB tape and the bus.
Jim?
For my senior level class, they do a thing called pitch presentation where they come in teams of 4 and present to a real company. Last year, it concluded with them selling a $32,000 sponsorship of our sales lab. That's pretty cool to sit back and enjoy.
That's learning by doing. That's real. I love it.
How many people can, your last project in your last class, did you actually close a $32,000 sale? But 8 of our students did that.
It's phenomenal. So we're going to end with this, Jim. If you had an animal to represent your leadership, what would be that animal?
Wow, you got me there. I don't know. What animal gives resources and gets out of the way? I don't know. Maybe I'm a ferret. I can go hide and let the kids do what they need to do.
Ferret, okay. Cooper?
I knew this was coming. I still didn't put much thought into it, but
Thanks
squirrel.
for warning me, Cooper.
A squirrel?
Squirrel.
Tell us a little bit why.
Because you're gathering, you're prepared for the winter, and you're energetic, and you have a community.
Excellent. So appreciate our 2 guests, Jim Eckert, the Robert S. Kaiser Professor of Sales at the WMU Haworth College of Business, and Cooper Frost, Strategic Account Manager at Western Digital. Thank you for joining us on The Jungle.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.